You are tuning into. Hi there to all our listeners and viewers. We're back again with another episode that you wouldn't want to miss. But before we get into that, I hope you had the chance to check out our previous episode where we had our different student leaders come on and talk about their experiences and impart really useful advice. So yeah, if you haven't, then go please do check it out. Anyway, I just want to say that I'm especially excited for this episode since our guest is someone we all really look up to. But before we get into that, I just want to check in on my co host over here on how you guys are doing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but midterms are fast approaching, and I can already begin to feel like the wrecks piling in. So how are you guys doing?
Saying feels Rafa. By the way, you look very dashing today. And Reese, you look very flattering. Can I just say, are you for president? Because like both train for Reese. And Rafa, are you with Sarisol right now? You look like a
Oh,
doctor.
thank you. I'm a hero. Is that what you mean? Is that what you meant to say, Wensi?
Hero? Who's hero? Who's hero, huh?
Okay.
Rafa, are you saying something?
Whoa.
Are you trying to
Okay.
imply something right now? I'm kidding. But yes.
Oh
um,
my. So
What about Reese? How are you doing?
Other than the obvious fact that midterms are really fast approaching, time is really fast these days. I am actually feeling pretty good. I feel pretty smart, smarter than usual wearing this, especially since we are in the comforts of our home. And I'm very sure why everyone knows why, because I can see everyone, the hosts especially, biting in their smiles or trying to hold back their smiles for this episode, because I'm sure everyone else is excited to welcome today's guests. So today's guest is a beloved member of the Enderun faculty, and if you are in the Enderun community or if you aren't, I'm sure you will love him as much as we do. We are now welcoming the co-founder and the vice president of Enderun, Sir Danny.
Woo! Yay!
Really excited to be here. Really excited to share what I know. I'm so happy to be with all of you, despite it being just on Discord. But you do make me feel a lot cooler and younger because we're on Discord and not on Zoom.
welcome to the podcast, sir.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Welcome to the podcast. We are delighted to have your presence here at Enderun Unmuted. And I've been actually waiting for this episode ever since Rafa mentioned that you wanted to join us. Like during his interview, he mentioned to us, Sir Danny wanted to be here at Enderun Unmuted, and we were like, sure, why not? And he told us he wanted to talk about finance, and that was like, what a perfect timing because we're adults now. Like we're in that milestone where we're becoming college students and becoming more independent, and this is a great episode for like to us to learn about financing. But before that, to kickstart this episode, the Enderun Unmuted team prepared a simple but thrilling game called Fast EU Talk Finance Edition. So in this game called Enderun Unmuted Talk, you'll be given 10 seconds to pick among two options. For instance, pen or pencil. You'll have to choose one. Okay, only one. There's a total of 10 questions, 5 seconds to think of an answer, and the remaining is for you to pick. Say to us which one do you pick among the two. So, are you ready, Sir Danny?
I'm ready, but I can't. But I'm feeling like this is like a setup, a very well master plan setup of questions. But go ahead, go ahead.
Don't worry.
Please,
Sir.
Rafa,
Questions
I
are-
yield the floor to you for this game.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wensi. So to start off, it will be me. So the first items are traditional investments or cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency.
So do you want
Yes,
to
sir.
explain why, or is there a particular reason?
Oh, just that now's a very interesting time, and personally, the returns in the crypto and NFT space is too attractive to ignore. You know, versus your traditional investments. Of course, they're more unsafe, so it depends on your risk appetite.
Okay, sir. For the next question, cash or card?
10,
Cash or
9,
card?
8,
Yes, sir.
7,
Card?
6,
Oh, cash. Cash. Yeah.
Card.
Card.
Card, okay.
Next.
Next up is hello or goodbye.
10.
Hello.
9. Hello. Yes. Okay, next.
Okay, so for the next question, equity or bond?
Equity.
Sir's really quick now.
That was really quick. I was like, I couldn't even count because like there was so quick. Okay, next.
Next is get $100,000 or $300,000 3 years from now.
$100,000.
Okay, sir, for this one, sipag or tiyaga?
10,
Is that the
9,
same?
8.
No, sir, one is hard work, one is more on the perseverance side.
Perseverance.
Okay.
Next up, this is really interesting if I do say so myself. Win $1 million or earn $1 million.
Earn $1 million.
10.
Earn $1 million.
Oh my gosh, sir's really quick when it comes to think. I couldn't even think within 10 seconds. Okay, next
Sir.
question.
Would you rather vacation in the US or in Europe?
Europe.
Europe. I would do, honestly. Next
Same.
up
Europe
is
is different here.
movies. Between the movies, Wall Street or The Boiler Room.
Boiler room.
I haven't watched that.
I don't even know the
Quick,
I don't
quick
even
confession, haven't watched Boiler Room.
Same.
Okay, sir, so we're now down to our last question. So for this question, you may or may not explain your answer. Okay, so the question is money or love?
Money.
Money. I like that, sir.
They say
Sir,
money can't
why?
buy happiness, guys, but apparently Sir Danny has something to say about this.
Yes, sir, why money?
I already have all the love that I need.
Bro.
I guess we're still in February, guys, because I'm still feeling the love in the air.
Yeah, I like that answer from sir. Oh my. So yeah, that concludes our short icebreaker. We hope you had fun, sir, and we hope our viewers got to know a little bit more about you through your choices. But wait, sir, before we move on, I know this episode's about finance, but I'm just curious because you said you'd rather vacation in Europe than the US. On that note, what is that one country that you miss visiting the most?
Between in those areas.
Yes, sir.
Switzerland, I do miss it because that's where I graduated from. So there's a lot of nostalgic memories there.
Ooh, I haven't been there yet, but my friends been there and they've been telling me such great things about that place. I'm really looking forward to traveling again after this pandemic ends.
Senior trip. I'm kidding.
Senior
Senior
trip, let's go.
Rafa's paying! Woo!
We used to
Rafa,
organize
you're gonna take this.
pre-pandemic. We organized students to go to Europe. The most recent one was in Oxford, in London, and that was a lot of fun. So hopefully we can bring that back when the world opens up. A lot of you can travel.
Pray that
Wait,
we go back to normal and travel because I really want to go on a travel with you guys, like, and then do a podcast. Woo!
Oh
That
my
is
god,
good.
Enderun Unmuted Travel Edition. Oh, that would be so
Imagine
good.
Imagine
bougie.
Rafa just carrying around his mic, his fancy mic.
So
Sitting in the
bougie.
hotel room. Go, Rafa.
Oh bye. But yeah, anyway, we can now move on to our main talk. So sir, as when she mentioned, when I got the chance to talk to you a few months back, something that really struck me was how passionate you were about cryptocurrency and NFTs particularly. So I'm sure we all heard the term NFTs, but for the purpose of our viewers who aren't really that, how do I put this, well versed, what are NFTs?
So simply put, first you need to understand the blockchain. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a lecture. So the blockchain is all about decentralized operations, right? It's essentially no central governing body, no central corporation for things that are happening digitally. So the NFTs is a byproduct of the blockchain technology. And it's essentially, if you put it very simply, it's the digitization of a digital file. And it's represented as a token. So just like you have Bitcoin or Ether or any of the tokens that you've heard of, it's just a digital representation of that, right? And its main use, there's so many uses to it, but it just allows a permanent record of that digital asset
Sir,
at the
I
very
just have
basic.
Sir, I just have a follow-up. I'm sure that this question is in the minds of a lot of people who would want to invest in NFTs. But since you mentioned that NFTs are decentralized, what assurance does the public have that it won't be used like as a vehicle for fraud?
Oh, there's no assurance at all. Actually, it can be used for fraud. It's quite prevalent, especially now because it's not governed. It's difficult to govern. So definitely, there are a lot of ways it has been misused, even as we speak today.
Okay, sir. Sir, sir, I just want to ask. I saw your profile picture here, and is that one of the NFT arts you own, sir?
Yeah, so again, so NFTs is a generalization of digital applications or digitized application of digital assets. So NFTs can be a music file, it can be a picture, it can be artwork, it can even be a poem that you write and then you save on the blockchain. So it's as simple as that, right? So if Rafa or Wensi, if you'd like to make an NFT out of your voice, you could record voice files, just like you would record on a Mac, and then you would encrypt it or what the proper term is mint it into an NFT. But basically, all it means is saving that file in the blockchain and it's tokenized, meaning there's a permanent record of it, and it cannot be replicated. The token cannot be replicated, but your file, your voice can be copied multiple times, right? So there's nothing to stop that either. But there's only one original that you deem original, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so NFTs are basically that. And then to go to your question, the profile pictures that you see, so one of the NFT genres, what you call profile photo NFTs. And the one I hold is a project called Psychedelic Anonymous. And it really started out as these pictures that you see, but NFTs can also get more complex and more things you can do with it. So for this guy, his project is about merch. He's going to be creating real world merchandise like clothing, fashion brand out of the community that you build. So he's built this community of people that are fans of this project. So the profile I'm using is one of my favorite projects, one of the projects that I feel in this space that has most credibility because he operates it like a business. And to get you a little bit excited, when I invested in this Psychedelic Anonymous PFP, I put in about 0.8 Ether, or for example, it's 150,000, for example.
Wow.
Today, it's if you hold a complete set, because it's like a trading, if you collect Pokemon cards, there's a set, right? You can complete like a certain grouping. So I have a complete set. A complete set now is worth as much as 1.5 million.
Whoa.
So, but before I get too excited, I just wanted to say that again, these are super, super high risk, and a lot of it was luck, really. And tomorrow it could be worth zero. So these are all just what you call even paper gains. It's not real money until it's actually real money, right? So it's only represented in values.
I also heard that in a way NFTs are also like the flex of the digital world. Like if in real life you have like those Rolexes and those Pateks, in the digital world you have those NFTs. So what do you call
I
this? Wait, yeah,
I
Wensi.
Yeah,
actually the recent news that I've heard of, like online, is that there's this guy who sold he took like selfies for like 5 years, straight 5 years, and then he sold it for like 1 million. He was able to get 1 million for taking a picture of himself for 5 years. Have you guys heard of that? It's Sir Danny.
yes,
Have you
yeah,
heard of that news? It
of
was a
course.
15-year old or 16.
That was quite
Sorry.
it was quite a funny occurrence in the NFT space, right? You're talking about Gozali NFT. So there's an
Yes, sir.
Indonesian guy that just took a picture of himself, and he's meme worthy face. And yeah, and he took a picture of himself for, I don't know, 5 years, or I don't know the exact duration, and then he saved those files as an NFT. So you can think about it as that simple. It's the minting process is saving your pictures and converting it into an NFT file. So he did that and sold it, and yeah, he did make millions.
May I ask for a follow-up question, sir? Wait,
Of
hold on,
course.
Rafa. How does something like that get value over time, especially in a digital world? Can you like give us a brief explanation on how such values it gets an actual value? Is it because over time, like they increase their value, they get their value?
Actually, um, that specific NFT you're talking about, I don't see any real value, right? It's not. Other NFTs have what you call utility or things that it does. This one particularly really had nothing, right? And it's really just a phenomenon or a psychological term. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm gonna try to recall what the exact terminology is, because it was. Give me a second. It is a psychological. Okay, give me a second. I did the research about it, and I just wanted to make sure I use the exact correct terminology. But if you understand, for example, the whole hype around Yeezys,
Yes, sir.
you're familiar with Adidas.
I was part of those
Why?
people, sir, who lined up for them.
Yeah, so why is that one Yeezy or a certain type of Yeezy worth, I don't know, $30,000 when it's the exact same rubber shoes as everything else, right? And in fact, if you bought it out of the retail store, you're paying retail price. Why is it now worth 1.5 million? So there's a theory by Mr. Rene Girard. It's called mimetic theory. It talks about people wanting things simply because other people want them. So he talks about human desire not it's not autonomous. It's not an autonomous process, but a collective one. This is how humanity decides what we care about, right? Um, and then I'm sure if you're in ABM or when you come to college, you're going to learn about the velvet rope theory. You know, when you go to a nice bar and club, bars on purpose make sure that there's a line outside, even if the bar is empty or half full. Why? Because it creates this whole impression that, oh, so many people wants in. It must be the coolest place to be, and I want to be part of that. Similar in NFTs, clothing wear, or any collectible, like those hard bobbing head collectibles, or like these mga anime collect. Why are some like millions of pesos? Only because other people also want it. And then economics come into play, supply and demand. So if there's only 10,000 pieces, but 1 million people want it, then the price starts to go up because somebody's willing to pay for it. But does it create value? That's where there's lots of debate, and definitely for some projects, it's really no value. It's just really hype and the mania of wanting to own one just to say you own one. Because unlike real business business investments where it's creating a service or a product and it's helping people and people are willing to pay for it. And this one is just a picture. So to answer your question, why did that go up in value? Just because of the hype. People wanted to be part of this craziness and say, I bought this image, I want to support it. There's a little bit also talking too much. There's also a little bit of the psychology of art also, right? Art is paint. Why does paint on a canvas worth 500,000, 100,000, 1 million pesos? How does an artist's work become worth that much, especially modern artists? It's determined by what other people say it's worth, what other people are willing to pay for it, right?
Sir,
So
sir, having said that, do you think that NFTs are still a viable investment at the moment? Because like for example, those who invested in Axie when it first came out really earned a lot from it. But like recently, I was thinking of getting into Axie, but uh, I heard from my friends that it's been dropping by a lot. So, like I actually have a friend who invested in it and he told me he's been losing money from it. Like I know the concept of NFTs are sort of different from these pay to earn games, but would you say that NFTs are still a viable investment considering that it's been around for like quite some time already?
yeah, so in your statement, there's a few questions. So actually, NFT and this the Axie creature is an NFT. The reason why Axie got so much fame and now notoriety is because they were the first NFTs that were actually had utility or usable. They were the first ones to actually have a working game. So when I said earlier, these pictures and stuff are saved digital files, that's the simplest, most basic explanation. But real projects with real developers, these NFTs can become playable characters. So if you have PSP or if you've ever played Mario, the challenge or the evolution of gaming before was it's per console, right? If you wanted to play Mario, you needed to be on a Nintendo. And if you had a Mario game in your console, you only had Mario in there. The NFTs, they have what you call the metaverse, which you're all familiar or you've heard of, where there are virtual land properties that these NFTs become playable characters in this world. And unlike Nintendo or Mario, you can be part of Project A, Wensi can be part of Project Barbies or Sonic, and they all interact and they can all meet in this virtual world. And what you've bought is essentially an avatar, right? So now going back to Axie, Axie was one of the first NFTs that actually had a working game. And their concept of play to earn was very novel because you're not earning pesos per se, right? You were earning tokens the game was generating or more cryptocurrency. But it's sort of cryptocurrency developed by this game. So it's its own cryptocurrency called SLP. Now, SLP stood for Smooth Love Potion. And Smooth Love Potion was used so that you could breed your NFTs, which were the Axie creatures. So you would give it the SLP and they would mate and create a new creature. And that's where the value or the desire to purchase the SLP was derived from. So to play, you needed an NFT called Axie. To buy an Axie, there had to be an Axie, or you had to breed your own. And to do that, you had to have the SLP. But how do you get SLP? If you don't have any, you have to buy it. And that then created the demand for SLP and people converting real money for the token to create more creatures, to earn more SLPs, to breed more. But what happened, or it's it's also like a Ponzi scheme because its value is only equal to the amount of people wanting to come in and play. Um, Now that was fine on the onset because the influx of new players was more than the Axie that was available. So that's why the price of the SLP went higher and higher and higher because it was limited and people started breeding. But when they bred and they played, now imagine before, for example, to simplify, you had one team earning 100 SLP. Now you have two teams earning 100 SLP. Next week, you have 10 teams earning 100 SLP. By the end of the year, you had 300,000 players playing and creating SLP. At one point, there was just so many players creating SLP and not enough new players coming in. And that's why the prices started to drop because now there wasn't enough players to consume the SLP. There's just too many SLP. And that's why now it's very difficult to earn from it. So that was and that by character could also be characterized as a giant Ponzi. So if you were first one in, you were lucky, you would make a lot of money. But now it's almost all you can still make money, but it's not worth the time and energy. That's what's happening, right? But to Axie's defense, they also have more complicated games because I don't know if you've seen Axie, it's turn-based fighting, but actually the real game is it's like a little mini RPG, open world. You can walk around, you can fight, you can play, you can earn, you can Minecraft, you can mine resources. That would add to the complexity of the game. That would help generate more value for the SLP.
I just have a follow-up question. You mentioned the value is pegged on the demand, right? So in line with this, why do you think NFTs and crypto in general are very popular in the Philippines right now? Because the other day when I was scrolling through Instagram, I saw this post saying that the most NFT owners come from the Philippines. Like to give you context, sir, my friend from Switzerland who came home last December during winter break was telling me how she was really surprised when what do you call this? When NFT was such a big thing here because she was telling me that literally like her profs, like in Switzerland, her profs, her classmates, literally no one there believed in NFTs. And then like a few weeks later, I see a PubMat saying the Philippines are like the leading consumers, or not really consumers, leading holders of these NFTs. Why do you think that is, sir?
Yeah, so I think there's a misconception there. It is true, especially with the whole boom of Axie. But the sort of confusion there is not a lot of Filipinos that own the NFT per se. It's groups of individuals, investors, that purchase a lot of these NFTs and then have scholars play it. So that's very different. It's like for example, Rafa owning 100,000 teams of Axie and having 100,000 people play for him, but technically only one person owns all of that, right? So that's I think primarily the case with Axie because a lot of Filipinos that are playing as I don't know if you've heard the term as a scholar. That's their terminology. They didn't make any investment. They didn't buy these NFTs. They just play for the owners. And the reason why it worked here in the Philippines and not in the US was the earning at the beginning was more than the minimum wage of our country per month. And they would just play games. So that was very appealing to a lot of people because you could earn so easily. And it was in the pandemic where there was hardly any jobs available. Versus in the US, earning $200 for a month is not sufficient. It's not worth not going to work. It's not worth stopping what you're doing, right? Secondly, the owners that had the money, it was so easy for them to buy because the returns were so good. Like to be transparent, I had teams. I had teams of my own. In the beginning, I made my money back in maybe a month or a month and a half, 2 months max, because we were so early when it was just starting. But now, I closed all those teams because it's not worth it, right? Um, so that's why it was so popular here in the Philippines. But if you look at all the other NFT projects, I think the biggest market's still the US, right? It's still primarily driven by the US buyers of NFTs.
Sir, do you see cryptocurrency eventually being used for real world transactions in the future? Because like years ago, had you told me you'd be using like Gcash and PayMaya, I probably wouldn't have like believed you. Like, do you foresee crypto going down the same route as these things?
Actually, what it's actually already being used in real world applications every day now. Um, if you take Bitcoin, even here in the country, maybe not known to many, but Bitcoin is being used as a remittance vehicle for um, OFW remittances. There's a company here in the Philippines that handles that, and they use Bitcoin because when you transfer via Bitcoin, fees are so much lower, and there's less red tape. It's easy to transfer so that's already being done. And then if you look at Ethereum, Ethereum is a so Ethereum. The best way to understand Ethereum is imagine the Apple iOS. Many programmers that develop apps for Apple using the Apple iOS platform, right? Likewise for the blockchain world. Ethereum is a platform where a lot of these other developments are being created. What do you call dApps or decentralized apps? So a lot of the NFTs that are coming out, a lot of these projects that you see, from the apes to my profile photo to a bunch of other things, is built on the Ethereum system, and that's where it gets its value. Um, so yes, it's definitely already being used. If you're even following what's happening with Ukraine and Russia, people are, because of the restrictions with banks, all the red tape when transferring donations, etc. People are actually using cryptocurrency to bypass all of that. And you'll see, I don't know if you're on Twitter, but you'll see a lot of people posting wallet addresses, blockchain wallet addresses, and saying, if you want to help, just donate here. And you're donating Bitcoin, you're donating Ethereum, because it's so liquid. It's so easy to convert these cryptocurrencies to your local currency.
That's the scary part, sir, actually, because like people nowadays, since some people if they see other countries struggling, they could like take advantage of that situation. But earlier, since you've mentioned that NFTs are investments that are of high risk, since its returns could differ. At our age, what type of investment would you suggest to that we put our money into? Like since we are teenagers and starting to earn, can you like give us type of investments we can
Yeah.
put our money in?
So my son is grade 12 next year. And he asks, he sees a lot of what I do in the NFT space, and he wants to get in it because he sees I expose him to what's happening, the returns. But I tell him, at your age, it's good to before you invest, or if you're thinking of investing in NFTs, first you need to be able to generate your own income, right? Don't put money that's not yours in it or your allowances in it. I don't recommend it. I also try to avoid it because, and this is personal opinion, other people might disagree. I didn't want him to get used to, well, first, the misconception that anybody that invests in the NFTs will make money. I would say majority lose money. If you don't know which projects to invest in, if you don't know which ones have a higher likelihood of success, um, it still takes a lot of research and energy. And even then, it's still not as secure of an investment as if you invested in a stock for San Miguel or Apple or Tesla, because those are real companies with real businesses that generate real value. A lot of these NFTs are just promises. Promises that if you buy their NFT one day, it's going to be worth something. Promises that they're creating a game. Promises that they are going to make a movie out of your NFT character or a TV series. But at the end of the day, there's nothing holding them accountable, right? If they run away tomorrow with your money, you can't go to the government and say, hey, can you go arrest these guys, right? It's no such thing. I always advise actually my own kids not to go into NFTs at this time. Really focus on first getting a career that generates your own money. Then when you have your own money, then you can look at investing that money, right? And if you're planning to invest that money, for me, I would still recommend investing in more traditional investments. With the exception maybe of buying Bitcoin or Ethereum and holding that for long term, right? Putting a small percentage of what you've earned there. Because one day I feel that Bitcoin and Ethereum will really, quadruple in value of what it is today. Many people will disagree also, but after 10, 12 years of seeing what has happened and the constant increase in prices, I think that has a lot of track record already. So the returns cannot be ignored because you're making sometimes 1,000% gain overnight. It's very tempting, but I also don't want to make it seem that that's contradictory. I don't want it to make it seem like it's easy money to a degree, because to make money in NFT, it's also not as easy as everybody thinks. But at the same time, it is easy money that I don't want my own kids to get used to generating that kind of returns and not go to work or not do something, not create their own business, right? I would, though, encourage my own kids if they wanted to start their own NFT, not trade NFTs, not speculate and hope that their money is going to triple, quadruple 100 times. But if they wanted to create their own NFT and make it a project and sell their own project, that I encourage, because there's so much opportunity. There are kids that are 13, 14-year-old making millions selling NFT art.
I think it's really hard right now to especially if you don't have your like what you said, if you don't generate income, it's not doable to invest in NFTs. So at our age, like what type of passive incomes do you think we can indulge ourselves in?
Yeah, so with technology, it's easy to generate income. Surprisingly, like my son and my daughter, my daughter's only 14, my son is 16. But they started e-commerce business, right? And not your usual. I'll sell cupcakes, or I'll sell something I baked at home, right? My son imports guitars from the U.S. and sells it here locally. And he does that all on his own, and it's all possible through the use of technology. And now, logistics and shipping products from different parts of the world is so convenient. My daughter started supplying inline skatewear from Australia. And they did that all over the pandemic, right? And these, like the guitars that my son sells, are expensive, high-end acoustic and electric guitars. So there are ways for you to generate income. He's also getting into computer coding, and once he gets really good at that, you can do sideline projects, and create stuff for other people. If you're very good at a certain thing, there's websites called Upwork where you can function as an outsourced project worker. You can do anything from hosting to creating write-ups or art or presentations. So there's so much you can do to generate income at your age, and it's significant income. Because like my son would sell guitars that are 30, 40,000. So it's very possible to do that. You just have to find something you're passionate about. My son's a good guitar player, so that was his passion. His best friend sells bikes, imports them from China. Giant, Specialized. What he does is he sources it in stores. It's so, I don't know if any of you bike, but you go try to buy a good bike here, it's always out of stock. So he's found a niche market. He's also my son's age. He's his best friend. He has sold more than 100 plus bikes, and these bikes are 100,000 each, right? 150 to 100. So he's 16 but made his millions already. So that's how I encourage the younger kids to first approach generating income for themselves before doing trading on NFTs. There's a lot of things I love it, I'm passionate about it, but there's a lot of things I don't like about it.
So going down the same route Wency was going for in terms of advice, and seeing that you advise or you teach your kids a lot of things, and I'm sure seeing all these stories and hearing them rather, they sound pretty successful to me. I just want to know, what advice would you give young people like ourselves when it comes to budgeting our finances? Me especially being a student who isn't in ABM, so we have less subjects for financing, so we can only really learn that during our own time. So another follow-up question to that would be, is should we follow the 50-30-20 rule? So yeah, that's what I want to ask.
So for me, hearing all of you speak, seeing you here, I think you're all very intelligent young individuals. And one of the best resources out there for anyone is the internet. Any information you need is available on the internet. If you don't like to read, you can watch videos. One of the best things is to educate yourself. Read. If you don't like reading, watch videos on growing your personal wealth, on finances. Second, there's so many free tools, so many apps. Instead of downloading games, if you go on Apple and look for budgeting apps, 1,000 budgeting apps you can download. And one of the most important things when you're budgeting is knowing what you're spending on. If you don't have any control, or if you're not mindful what you spend on, it's hard to budget. What a budget means is a set plan, a forecast, right? Even in a company, you create a budget, knowing what you want to spend on, how much you're going to spend, how much you're planning to earn, and that's your plan, right? That's what a budget is, a plan that you follow. So it can be 50, 30, 20. It can be various things for various individuals, but more important is the discipline to stick to it. Because there's no point saying, oh, I'm going to follow the 50, 30, and 20% rule, and then the very next day blow 60% on something. And then it's good to make it realistic. A lot of the problems, even today, being 40, I still blow my budget all the time. It's because it's easy to write a budget and say, okay, these are the things I'm going to spend on, but sometimes you're not realistic. Well, what about birthday parties? What about gifts that you want to give? What about the next gimmick? So you have to really think about what I want to spend on, where I want to spend it, and then think about where I can really save, right? Me personally, I like to create more income. Um, uh, and then sort of work around that. Um, but yeah, that's my advice, right? The budgeting apps help because as long as you're disciplined, every time you spend, you just indicate what you spent on how much, and then it creates reports. You can see last month this is what I spent. Oh, I should have not have spent more than this because I said I would only spend 10% on food. Wow.
I'm guilty. I feel called out. I feel called out.
It's okay. It's one of the hardest things. I mean, it's not just a young person thing, right? All the way to adults. So many people have difficult time budgeting. It is a difficult thing, right?
I actually have a follow-up question. So you mentioned earlier that there are videos, possible other types of paraphernalia. I was wondering, do you have any recommendations or personal likes that you enjoy using? Maybe apps that we students could use or maybe download after, or something they'd think would be very, very helpful to people at our
Yeah,
age.
on the top of my head, I can't think of any specific one because there's just so many, and they almost all do the same thing. So as long as you go to your Apple iOS, there's 100 selections, and look for a free one that the interface that you like. Even on Excel, I don't know if you know, you can download templates, budget templates. You can download family budget template or whatever, allowance template, and I'm sure you'll find it on Excel. So the
Oh,
key is to be
yes.
resourceful.
Oh, definitely. Oh, my sister and I actually we use templates on spreadsheet. We share the same template actually. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that. So Rafa, I think you have the next question.
Yes, sir. Hearing what you've said today, wait, this is a hypothetical question, sir, but if you could go back in time to when you were about our age, what would you do differently in terms of how you handled your finances?
A lot. I was the worst example, right? I was very irresponsible with my personal finance, especially at your age. Um, I used to YOLO, as you would say, right? Spend everything, travel, no budget, bahala na, and then my I guess my bad habit and good habit at the same time fueled that type of behavior because I would find ways to make the money. So give you a concrete example, I could like maybe take a holiday, especially when I was in college, spend all the money that I had traveling with friends, and then realize I have not enough to survive the semester. And remember, I was in Europe, um, and my allowance was set. So, I would end up suffering eating instant noodles the whole semester. But then I would find a way to generate income, right? And then I would uh, be followed. I started writing thesis and essays and capstone projects for other students to be paid, and I would collect a fee for doing that. That was bad, but the money was good. It was easy for me to at that time create capstone reports of like I don't know this thick. Um, again, not to follow, so very resourceful, and then I realized, hey, there's a lot of colleges in the Philippines doing the exact same thing I'm doing. So to avoid plagiarism in my Swiss school, I contacted all my friends that were going to Ateneo La Salle, and I said, hey, do you guys have any essay projects on marketing or finance or any case studies you did for different corporations? Email it to me. And they would email me all of this, and I would just paraphrase, change it, edit it, and then I would sell it for like 500 Swiss francs per capstone
Oh my.
project. So I was making I don't know, 50,000 pesos per capstone, and then sell like 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and then there it goes, and then I'd have money again.
Now that Sir has actually shared that, I can't believe I'm confessing this here, but back in junior high school, I did something very similar, except I didn't do those for capstone projects. What we would usually do, me and my friends, I'm sorry for exposing my friends, so we would actually do that during examination period. So we would make reviewers for each subject since we all had the same subjects at the time, and we would sell them for a certain amount, and we would only give them access. And we tried to, there was this whole like app thing. I forgot what the platform was called, but like you had to access it. We had to give you the password and everything because we know that people can download the PDF and then share it to everyone else. So we really made sure that no one could copy them. And we did make a good amount, but as you said, that isn't really something that we should be doing. I haven't been doing that since the pandemic, so I'm safe. But yeah, I was
That's
sorry. I
better.
just really had to throw that in there.
Oh, I'm out here doing that for free. I should have charged. Not gonna lie
I should have
before.
charged.
I
I
should
know.
have. I didn't have that business mindset yet. I'm out here giving them for free, dude.
At least you've learned
Oh
something
my.
in
Yeah,
today's
one of our
episode.
takeaways. Oh, I'm just kidding. But what do you call this? I just want to say this episode has probably been one of my favorites so far, just because of the amount of stuff that we really covered and really learned. But sir, is there anything you'd like to say or any advice you just like to add before we wrap this episode up?
Yeah, so I think in general, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, this whole development in the metaverse is going to be here to stay, and definitely a direction we're going to be going. So the more aware a lot of you are, the more well versed you are, whether or not you trade or buy, it's irrelevant. But the more knowledgeable you are in this field, the more opportunities you'll have in the future. Um, and like I told my son, I highly encouraged him to look at for college a field related to computer science or engineering, anything with that had a technology lean, because that is the future and it's going to be the most in demand careers you can have. Just imagine if you watch Ready Player One, right? Have you seen Ready Player One? It's a great movie, but movies are always for me a great indicator of the direction we're going in terms of technology. Because those people that write those movies do a lot of research. And to make something more realistic, they try to see what's coming based on the technology we have or whoever's building the latest thing. They're talking to them. And then they just make it a reality in the movies, even though we're not there yet. But it shows what's probable and what's possible. If you watch Minority Report, when they were like doing all that screen in midair, but before that was what 1990s when they showed that, it felt so far away. But now we all know there's augmented reality. Now there's that Oculus glass, there's the Facebook Oculus goggles, um, so there's so much things that still need to be built. It's easy to show that a completed product, but even to be able to feel in the virtual world needs to be programmed, needs to be created. Somebody needs to work on that code, on that software, on that physical hardware. So there's so many new things that are being created that you can be part of. And if you're in that position where you're knowledgeable in that space, you're just securing your future. So I would look into that, instead of watching TikTok videos of people dancing all day or singing all day, you know.
You really called her out like that?
Okay, you called out for the second time.
Yeah,
Okay.
watch YouTube videos on, type topics like evolution of technology next 10 years or latest developments in augmented reality. There's so many great informative videos that will open your mind.
From what I can see, we are actually. Do you guys know? Have you guys heard of Black Mirror? Do you guys watch Black Mirror? I think it is slowly evolving towards that. Actually, yes, we are slowly evolving towards a advanced technology, and I can see that Black Mirror is not far from happening. But anyway, I think that wraps up our episode. I won't get further into what Black Mirror is. So thank you, sir, for being on board with us. It was really insightful, and we really had fun with you today, and we learned a lot. And I guess my other host, do you guys have to add any? Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, sir, we really appreciate, like, we know how busy your schedule is, the fact that we had to postpone this, but, we really appreciate you joining us here today, and I'm sure our viewers also learned a lot. Yes, I hope to see you around the campus really soon.
Same
Yes,
here.
sir.
See you in
So
campus.
Where,
it was really
um,
cool. I really enjoyed this session with you guys. I enjoyed it so much. If you want to have me again on a different topic, or I'd be happy to join you guys. Right?
For sure, sir.
Definitely. I guess I'd also like to say thank you so much, even though I was a little bit out of the loop as much as I'd like to admit, because I have little to no knowledge about everything we talked about today. So for me, today was especially insightful, informative. I've definitely learned a lot. So with that, I just really like to say thank you. Like everyone, like all the hosts said, would be happy to have you here again, whether it's us as hosts or whether you meet the new team. We'll be happy to have you here at Enderun Unmuted.
Very cool.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. See you, sir.
You.
Oh my, dude, that was what an episode. It
Exactly.
definitely, it
I'm so
definitely,
speechless. I
it
feel called
definitely
out
didn't
there.
disappoint. Yeah.
I feel called out twice because like the TikTok content. Oh my gosh! But like speaking of TikTok, you guys can learn something from TikTok if you engage with the right content. That's the thing about TikTok. Engaging
The
with the
She
right.
really said media literacy, guys. She's giving you guys media literacy.
I'm still laughing from when she got exposed, when Reese exposed Wensi like that. Oh my. But yeah, after hearing what has been shared about the alternative forms of investments like cryptocurrency and NFTs, I feel like the one thing we should really leave with our audience is really the value of having an open mind. Because, like, just because something is unfamiliar and something's new, it doesn't mean we should just like cast it aside. I mean, but of course, having said this, we must also do our research or due diligence, as it's only through these things that we're able to determine if something's right for us. Like at the end of the day, we shouldn't be afraid to take risks since nothing in life is really foolproof. It's just a matter of determining how much risk we are willing to put into something. So yeah, because whether in life, love, or investments, there are really no guarantees.
That's
So
so true. I
yeah,
couldn't agree more.
yeah, and with that, we've once again reached the end of our episode. So don't forget to follow us on social media at Enderun.unmuted and at Enderun on Instagram and on Facebook.
If there's anything you want us to talk about, feel free to reach out by sending us a message.
Unfortunately, we are now muting again. Thank you for tuning in with us, and see you all in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.